In part 2 of the sermon, Babylon is Writing the United States, I concluded with a statement telling about how Nimrod had been chopped up into several pieces, many pieces, and parts of his body was sent to every part of the kingdom which he ruled at that time. Remember, he had walled in the cities. He had protected the people. He was the first one to start political government, which he was the king of. At the same time, he introduced an economic system of bartering and trade. So he headed up that as the king of this particular Babylonian system. He also introduced sun worship and serpent worship. But then most people would think, after the death of Nimrod, that his system would have ceased, that it would have been, his followers would have been dispersed, because when Shem came up with all of the Egyptians who had followed God and not gone into this Babylonian system, surely people think, well, the system has been gone because they saw what happened to Nimrod. But that was not the case. After Nimrod's death, they decided they had to go underground if they wanted to continue the worship of Satan and the worship of the sun, use it as a symbol, and the serpent as a symbol. So I want to read out of Alexander Hislop's Two Babylons, page 66 and 67, just to give us just a little information as to how they went into this. They said that this paganism went underground, and in order for them to continue their worship of Satan through idolatry and these symbols of the sun and the serpent. Notice what he said. If idolatry was to be continued, if above all it was to even take a step in advance, it was to be indispensable that it should operate in secret. Now remember that, in secret, because the book of Revelation chapter 17 verses 1 through 6 says Mystery Babylon. And when something is a mystery, you don't understand it. But certainly someone does, or else there would be no such thing as Mystery Babylon. Somebody has to know the mystery for it to continue to operate. So he said it was indispensable for it to operate in secret. And these circumstances then began, there can hardly be a doubt, that system of mystery which, having Babylon for its center, has spread around the world. These mysteries came under the guise of paganism, and it was actually forbidden worship which Shem and his followers from Egypt, who had obeyed God, came in and tried to stamp out. So these initiated mystery, Babylonian high priests, you might say, went underground. They were forbidden to worship the sun. They were forbidden to worship the serpent and its symbol. So they knew that in order to follow along with this mystery religion which had started in Babylon, and Nimrod was its founder, they had to go underground. So this whole thing, after Nimrod's death, did go into a mysterious type religion. Now, someone had to continue it. It was a good thing that Nimrod had married his own mother, because this was a very degenerate woman. She was so depraved and so degenerate that she married her own son. This is how this system started. This was how degenerate it really was. She was known, and I'm going to quote once again from Alexander Hislop's Two Babylons, page 5. She is known to have impressed upon them, the people that now she was ruling over, the image of her own depraved and polluted mind. She was so degenerate that in this Babylonian mystery religion, which Nimrod and Semiramis started, that she allowed them and taught them to go into the same degenerate type religion. Now notice what it goes on to say. That beautiful, this is talking about her, but abandoned queen of Babylon was not only herself a paragon of unbridled lust. This is her character, unbridled lust. Anything that would fulfill the appetites of the flesh, she indulged in it. And licentiousness. What is licentiousness? A license to disobey. Immorality is what it is. The breaking of God's 10 Commandments. And what was one of the things that Nimrod started in his system? He was against God. Anything that God said in the 10 Commandments, you do the opposite because you're in direct rebellion to God. Now I'll go on. In the mysteries, which she had a chief hand in forming, she was worshipped as Rhea, R-H-E-A. Notice this, the great mother of the gods. Now you wonder why Mary is called the mother of God? in certain religious organizations today, we'll see in just a minute, which such atrocious rites she has identified her with Venus. Notice, she was so immoral that she was identified with a goddess Venus, the mother of all impurity. Now this was what formed the base for the Babylonian mystery religion, which God says rides the kingdoms of the earth today. And it is a religious system as well as political and economic, because this particular religious system all through the Middle Ages rode the Roman Empire, and actually its leader, the high priest of this Babylonian mystery religion, became the head of the Roman Empire. And even the emperor himself worshipped him as God on earth. In the place of God, there's a name on the cap of this person sitting in Rome, Italy, and it says Vicar of Christ. It means he's sitting in the place of Christ. This is appropriating to himself the office of God on earth. Now, let's go on and see where this came from. So Semiramis was actually inspired by her true master, Satan the devil. She began to weave a very intricate pattern of worship, and it was paganism to the core, in which she usurped her authority as the ruler and Nimrod's authority upon the entire population of that particular time. Now, it's very important to note that she did not base all the teachings of this Babylonian mystery religion upon error. She didn't do that. You can't fool the people, and you can't become an angel of light by telling everybody everything that's wrong. You can't tell somebody that it's all right to murder when they know that it's not all right. So you can't tell somebody that it's all right to murder another human being and expect it to be believed. So all of this particular Babylonian religious system was not in error. It amalgamated certain truths with errors in order to weave a very intricate pattern of paganistic religion and hoist it upon everybody else. So the truth is that she craftily twisted some of God's truth so that she could turn the attention of the people away from the Creator God. Semiramis and her various associates who were with her in this Babylonian mystery religion were very successful in what they were attempting to do. To be exact, the whole system capitalized on the baser elements of human nature. They said, all right, here is a system of religion which you do not have to change your basic nature. You can participate in the humanistic nature that you have without changing and becoming godlike in character. In other words, it's a form of godliness, but it denies the power to change you to a converted godlike person. Now, in later years, this Babylonian mystery religion actually infiltrated into the tribes of Israel. In Judges 2, verse 13, it describes where Israel, and I'll quote just a part of it, they forsook the Lord and served Baal and Ashtaroth. Baal was the high priest, or the top god in the Babylonian mystery religions. So they set up their abominations. This is Jeremiah, verse 32 and 33 through 35. They set up their abominations in the house, which is called by my God's name, to defile it. So here was infiltration of the Babylonian mystery religions into God's true, the church in the wilderness, Israel. And it says, and they built high places or altars to Baal, which is Satan. And so they practiced the religious paganistic rites of the Babylonian system. At one point, the degeneration of Israel was so bad that Elijah rounded up all the prophets of Baal, and then he said, all right, if you're of the true God, then you build your altars. And he told them to bring down fire from heaven. They couldn't do it. So then he built an altar. He poured water all over the altars. And then he asked God, the true and the living God, to come down, to send fire down, and it actually devoured all the altars, even the water in the trenches. And then Elijah and other servants of God destroyed all 400 of those priests, high priests of Baal. So it was so bad that we can read in 1 Kings chapter 19 and verse 10. It reads like this: the children of Israel have forsaken your, God's covenant. This is Elijah talking. Thrown down your altars, slain your prophets with a sword, and I, even I only, am left. Here was Elijah, just like our small group thinks we're the only ones left. No, not at all. But notice what he says, and they seek to take my life away. So he was the only one left, so he thought. But then notice on down just a little bit. God told him, no, you're not the only one left. In verse 18, he said, I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed to Baal or to Satan worship, Babylonian mystery religion, and every mouth which has not kissed him. And it's amazing that he mentioned kissed him, because there is also a statue, and I'm going to discuss it in just a few minutes, in Rome, Italy today, which people come up and kiss the toe of that statue, and have kissed it so much that it's worn off part of the toe. And we're going to see what that was all about just a little later. So in the New Testament, we find this whole theme of a mystery religion carrying on in the guise of light and of good. We see it all the way through. But even in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, here is Satan, or Baal as he's called in the Old Testament. He's described as the god of this world who has blinded the minds of those who do not believe. Then in Revelation 12:9, once again, the theme continues that Satan deceives the whole world, just like he did in Old Testament times after the flood and the Babylonian mystery religion started. So in 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14, it states that Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Remember, it's a mystery. He appears to be so good and so righteous, and it goes on to even state that his ministers, that his personal ministers, and I guarantee you not one of them realize that they are his ministers. It says they are transformed as the ministers of righteousness. They appear so good, so right, but it's a mystery, and that's the key. Only Satan and the high priest of Satan understand what the mystery is all about, and those who are out promulgating and keeping on and deceiving people, as Jesus said, many will come in my name and deceive the many. It's because it's a mystery. Even those ministers who are deceived themselves and are deceiving others don't even realize where their religion came from. They don't know. But we're going to see in this minute. And we're going to actually see in history and many of the teachings which are brought over into this day where we live right now. And Satan is also mentioned in Revelation 9, verse 11. Satan is described as a king whose name is Abaddon, A-B-A-D-D-O-N, which means the destroyer. So this Babylonian mystery religion is a destructive religion because it turns people away from the true and the living God. It gives you something to worship. They're a symbol, you might say. And then they have appropriated that symbol a different meaning to it. In other words, here we worship the Sun God. S-U-N. Every year it's called today Christmas. See, it's got a Christian, the Mass of Christ. A Christian sounding name, but you can go to any reputable encyclopedia. You can see that this is nothing more than the pagan day of Bromalia or Saturnalia, where the sun goes to its lowest ebb in the southern hemisphere and is for about 4 days. The days are exactly the same length, December 21st, and then on the 25th, the day is 1 minute longer than it was the day before. And so ancient paganism under this Babylonian mystery religion worshiped the rebirth of the sun. The sun is coming to the northern hemisphere again. And so this is all wound up. They say, oh, we're worshiping the Son of God on Christmas. He was born that day. Oh, no. It's the S-U-N, Son, they're worshiping. But they appropriate something different so that they can deceive you. This is the Babylonian mystery religion. And you can take every one of God's holy days, and they have destroyed every one of them and appropriated and given another day for you to worship. Halloween, Easter, Christmas, Valentine's Day. Every one of them seems so good. After all, isn't it good to tell somebody you love them on Valentine's Day? Nobody can object to that. And yet when you look at what's behind it, you're actually worshiping Satan the devil and his demons.